Hi there, Serial Trader here. I got a request to check in on XLE and CCJ. So we'll start off with XLE, and I will actually take a peek at oil as well, since there's something I want to remark on there that would probably be impactful to XLE. I mean, oil and XLE, they don't have a direct correlation, but I think it's safe to say there certainly is often a correlation between the underlying commodity and the companies that are dealing in it. Okay, so XLE. So since the last video, was looking for a fourth wave pullback that would not do a 4-1 overlap, and we did not. So we didn't invalidate the 1, 2, 3, 4 scenario with 5 to come. Well, 5 has come now. Now wave 4 was certainly more time consuming than wave 2. And fairly severe in price as well. I think for a fib retracement, we got close to the 618 retracement, but it would have actually had to come down here and let me just get rid of that. To truly invalidate the impulse wave pattern, we would have had to come down and take out that prior wave 1 high and overlap it. We didn't do that, so it held. And we got eventually that 5-wave move up that we were looking for. Okay, now given that, now I don't necessarily think that wave 5 is, I mean, it could be done here. We had a pretty good gap up and then reversal today, but there's nothing to say that wave 5 can't just go a little farther here, perhaps further into the 60s before it completes, and then we get some sort of corrective move. But the way I'd be looking at this now is, okay, we do have a non-overlapping 5-wave sequence. Maybe it's not complete yet, but it's certainly looking more mature. And if I hop over to oil itself, it looks like we have begun a corrective phase, and perhaps this is the initial A wave down. We got a 3-wave move up. So far it looks like an ABC up to a lower high, and then probably anticipating another leg down in oil, possibly into the 50s or greater, but that'll be my initial target, is somewhere into the 50s, or at the very least revisit that old low there in the low 60s. I mean, he definitely got this distinctive 3-wave rally up to a lower high, roughly AC equality. We exceed that a little bit, but largely AC equality. And with the prior impulse wave down, that makes me think that oil has some more downside here in a corrective phase before we should really be looking at much higher oil prices. I think we have some downside correcting to do first. So given that we think oil could have a leg down, and given that XLE has done a fairly mature looking 5-wave sequence since that low back here in August at around that 45 area, given all that, I would, well, if you're in XLE, I'd be certainly looking to protect the position or even get out of it, and looking for a lower entry after doing that. And again, it may not quite be topped out here, but I wouldn't be trying to squeeze too much more out of this if it was me. And I think I would be looking for at least a partial retracement of this 5-wave move. So if we just put up some typical, just assuming that we have the high in place, some typical levels, well, come down to the prior 4th wave low, close to the 618 retracement, also a gap fill here that still hasn't been filled. That would be in the 50-51 area. So that'd be a reasonable target on a corrective pullback. Or if we're even going to do a larger degree, and bear with me, because you could make the case, for instance, that we've completed perhaps, or we're about to complete a larger 5-wave sequence from the March 2020 low on oil. Let's put that to intermediate. And if that's the case, and we're about to complete 5 waves up within that larger wave 5, well, then you'd be looking for a pullback at least to that prior 4th wave low, which would actually be around 45 on XLE, so a little deeper. And let me just do a fib retracement of that overall move off the March 2020 low, and let's get the 382 and 50% level there. So yeah, even just a 38.2% retracement of this overall move off the March 2020 low, that'll get you down there into, you know, the mid 40s if that's what we're going to do. But again, too early to make the call that we're in that large degree of a pullback. But I would be more realistically, for now, targeting, you know, a pullback closer to this smaller degree fourth wave level in the low 50s perhaps. So that's kind of my take there on XLE. I guess we'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, definitely expecting some weakness soon, especially since oil looks like it's also set up for a potential good leg down there. So that's that. CCJ. Okay, so we did get a pretty substantial pullback on CCJ to around the 20 level. You know, high 19s, basically 20, which was a prior support. But I just don't think it's done. And I could easily make the case that we have this initial, for instance, we got this initial A down. This is a aggressive but still corrective B up. And perhaps we get that C wave down. Let me just drop the degree down here a bit. And you can see we have a distinctive three-wave move up, even though this you know, third leg here is certainly aggressive. Look at the rejection we had intraday. Huge gap up, flashed up there, and then big rejection, and closed way down on the day's range. I mean, technically it closed up for the day, but definitely a pretty big intraday reversal there, right? So given that, I would still, and we do have some gaps down here. So for instance, there's an unfilled gap here at 19.25. There's also an unfilled gap down here at 16.26. And then of course we have that 15 area, that prior support. And the idea here is that we're potentially correcting this entire move, kind of like the potential there on XLE, depending on what happens. We're potentially correcting the entire move from that March 2020 low where we got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. Well, we would just be doing a correction ABC down to the prior fourth wave level, which is again around that 15 area. I mean, I don't know if I need to label it, but I guess I can. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be a correction. I guess we'll bump up the degree of the correction. This would just be correcting that initial 5-wave move up, and then we'd be looking for another longer-term impulse wave after the correction has matured. So I'd still be looking for some more downside here on CCJ as far as looking to get long, you know, to ride the next big move up. I just don't see this currently fully recovering back to this old high and making new highs. I mean, I could certainly be mistaken about that, but currently the data that we have to analyze to me is suggesting another leg down here, and that would certainly be complementary with some overall market weakness that appears to be you know, taking place, particularly today. It's kind of kicked into gear, so we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, that's currently my take on XLE and I guess a little bit of oil and CCJ. All right, Serial Trader signing off.